Today, what I'm going to talk about is a very specific form of data that I think actually could be the most powerful and potentially the most valuable form of data, and that's real-time data. So as I go through this, I'm just going to talk through where we see some of the major opportunities that are coming into play and how that can translate into real benefits for your business. I'm going to just walk through kind of what we see as driving the overall adoption and growth in real-time data, specifically from a business perspective. Secondly, what we're going to talk about is how all of this rise of real-time data is actually driving a whole new generation of applications and is driving a whole new class of applications that we think will be the predominant applications. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about the technology changes that are happening here in the form of this real-time data stack. And that data stack is something that we're starting to call the real-time data cloud. You're going to hear more and more about that as we talk about this as having very specific pillars of innovation. And actually, we have one of our data strategists in the audience, George Trujillo, who is available for anything if you guys want to catch up in more detail. George is a great individual to talk strategy specifically about your business. He'll also be at the booth a little bit later as well. So the reason why we see real-time data really growing in importance and relevance is that every conversation that I have with every customer really focuses in on their need to grow their business and to move faster than ever. And there's a lot of reasons for this, and actually going back to the keynote from this morning, we heard just so much about this. Businesses are under more pressure than ever to grow their revenue, but at the same time, even costs, operational costs, margins, all of this is potentially even more valuable. And at the same time, they're looking at how they keep customers more and more interested into the types of offers and products and services that every business is offering. So all of this combines together into this incredible pressure that every business feels. Grow the top line, control the bottom line, and also make customers more loyal than ever. And that's incredibly challenging in today's market because their world is so unpredictable. Every business that we're in, I'm sure you have your own version of this, you're in an environment that is incredibly chaotic. Whether that's not being able to trust the overall supply chain that's feeding your business or feeding your customers, understanding that your customers are now making harder decisions around how they spend all of their dollars, and understanding that every dollar needs to be fought in a more challenging economy than ever. At the same time, we're all global businesses and we operate on a global footprint, and the changes at the geopolitical level are happening right in front of us all the time. And we also have to think about what's going on with all of our customers and how they need to think about privacy and their information as well. What that's translating to in our experience is this idea of speed and scale, and that's something that we see everyone wanting to operate more and more, but there's more detail to that. This is forming applications that are actually helping their business operate faster and to grow their business more aggressively. If we think about applications that are facing employees, it's about speed and scale translates to how can a business operate with greater agility? How can every employee make a decision with the right information at the right time? How can they make time-sensitive decisions that really help to impact the success and outcome of their business? At the same time, we're constantly exploring new ways to work, and how can we extend data and information out to anyone wherever they are? How do we streamline operations so that we take inefficiencies out, but we also remove risk? And how do we use information to then help us drive innovation faster than ever? If we take that same idea of speed and scale and we think about it from a customer experience standpoint, this is all about how do we make the applications and services that face our customers more powerful, more compelling, and more interesting. These are the things that are tied directly to the kind of growth that we're seeking. How do we grow into new markets? How do we keep customers engaged with an experience or a consumer service that's really exciting and really compelling, and definitely more interesting than that's offered by our competition? And how do we really bring the element of personalization into everything that we do at the customer level? It's one of the reasons why we see real-time data just growing so fast. I think for all of us, and I heard Adam talk about this morning, we look to data to be the thing that answers all of our questions or solves all of our problems. But in our mind, not all data is created equal. And the real-time data is actually the fastest growing category of data in the market. It's growing so fast that in just a few years, real-time data will actually represent 30% of all enterprise data. This is a new thing that's being driven by so many market changes, whether that's mobile or edge, IoT. Some of the even emerging innovations like 5G are going to continue to accelerate that overall growth of real-time data. It's growing, it's at 10x, whereas the overall data market is just growing 3x. We already know that we have more data than we know what to do with right now, but we're witnessing really a change in the type of data that we'll be experiencing and consuming and leveraging in our business. There's great examples of companies out there that are using real-time data to be leaders in their market. But what I like about this is that they're not just using real-time data to be more successful, they're actually using real-time data to define who they are. Real-time is just who they are as a business. Here's 3 great examples. I chose some from our customer portfolio because I really wanted to cover a broad range here. If you look at someone like Priceline, they have millions of customers that are engaging with dozens and dozens of potential vendors instantaneously. Their ability to deliver real-time data around offers for the travel industry is something that allows them to stay at the forefront of their market, but also give each of their customers the best opportunity. If you've bought an airline ticket recently, you've noticed this dynamic pricing, where actually pricing can change minute by minute based on your interest level. As a consumer, it can be somewhat frustrating. Being able to deliver real-time recommendations through Priceline instantaneously means that they're actually passing along the best opportunities to every consumer, and they're brokering that from dozens and dozens of potential customers and vendors. The Home Depot is another really interesting example, because what the Home Depot did is they actually introduced an entirely new service in just a matter of months, using real-time data to introduce an entirely new way of consuming services from the Home Depot. This was all based on their need to do curbside pickup, and they actually were able to deliver this service in just a matter of months while making that experience highly personalized across all of their customer channels. Data really defines the way the Home Depot engages with their customers, both online, in-store, and now through their curbside pickup. And Barracuda is another interesting example, because what they're doing is they're actually taking millions and millions of potential points of threat at a global level, and really starting to bring those together and analyze those instantaneously to reduce the impact of cyber threats for all of their customers. This wouldn't be possible if they didn't have the kind of speed and scale that they can get through our solution. And doing that allows them to minimize the overall threat landscape for their customers. So 3 completely different markets, 3 completely different opportunities, but you're seeing how real-time data really defines the way they operate their service and the way that they offer it to their markets. If you want to look a little bit more broadly, this is a study that we conducted with about 500 organizations. We actually spent a couple of months analyzing how they're using real-time data. And what we found is that there's a direct correlation between the use of real-time data and revenue generation. It just creates a better experience, it creates better opportunities, and for the most part, what it's giving every user of real-time data is the opportunity to connect with their markets in an instantaneous and very effective way. That last graphic on the end really says that the more that an organization embraces real-time, not just from a technology standpoint, but from an overall culture, you see an exponential growth in revenue as well. So real-time is really creating a direct correlation between those, both the revenue generation and business success. We think that this is so important that we believe that within 5 years, every application will be real-time. And I don't think this is too bold of a statement. I think that actually this is fairly predictable as we start to see the growth in these applications. One of the reasons why is because we're making it easier and easier to have instant access to limitless data. And I'm going to talk a little bit around some of the changes that we're seeing on the technology side that are really driving that. But the second thing is that every application is becoming more and more intelligent. And as you have machines consuming real-time data, understanding it and generating value from it, the need and the usability of real-time data will only grow as well. You know, we talked a little bit this morning, and we heard Adam talk a little bit around machine learning and artificial intelligence. Machine learning and AI are becoming more and more part of our overall application landscape, and we're seeing it change from a data science initiative into something that's embedded in the application and really invisible inside of the application. And that creates the perfect marriage between real-time data and AI. And I think we'll start to see new concepts like real-time AI becoming much more common as we see these two worlds collide. You know, another piece is that I talked earlier about us just being globally distributed as sort of a global footprint for our organizations. The global distribution of data, the global distribution of customers, the global distribution of operations means that accessibility to real-time data becomes more and more important. It's not just for things like logistics and shipping, which are very kind of common or easily understood, but it's all of the other practices where our customers, our information, our data, our products and services are constantly active everywhere around the world, and real-time gives us access to that information without any delay. And the last thing is, of course, we're here at reInvent. It would be natural for us to assume that every application is really built for the cloud. But that has an impact on the kind of technology that we need to bring to market, and the kind of technology innovation that we need to think about. We really need to tackle a couple of challenges. Because while I gave you some great examples of organizations that are working and operating in real time, there's other ones out there that are really iconic when we think about them. For far too many organizations, using real-time data is just far too challenging. It requires specialized skills that are extremely scarce. Typically, the skills required to run and operate and even build applications for real time, those are in high demand, and they're generally consumed by the iconic companies that you think of that are already doing great things in real time. You know, the other thing is that it often just gets so expensive to run a real-time application, especially as that application starts to become more popular and more useful. The popularity of that application, the growth in the data, actually erodes the value of that application. And that's just really unacceptable. You know, at the same time, you know, it can be incredibly complex to operate these systems, and often the operational complexity really erodes the value and the opportunities that are created by that application. But the last thing is that we're really talking about trying to run real time with outdated architectures. The architectures that we've built a lot of our data platforms on for decades are reaching their logical limits. We see this kind of growth, we see the demand for speed, and we're trying to run this on a system that was built for a completely different dynamic, for a completely different market that was perfectly acceptable 3 decades ago, but it isn't acceptable now, and it definitely won't be acceptable 10 years from now. So the promise that we have from Datastax is that we really want to unlock that power of real-time data for everyone, not just for the hundreds of companies that have been able to really master this world of real-time, but for the hundreds of thousands of organizations that can benefit from real-time and real-time applications. We're doing this through a new technology platform that we're calling the Real-Time Data Cloud. We spent a ton of time working with the open source community. Our technology is based on Cassandra, but what we've done over the last couple of years is we've really made Cassandra cloud native. We've made it completely serverless. We've deployed it into any cloud. We've made it accessible. We've protected the price performance ratio, and we've made it a completely cloud native system. This is really something that hasn't been done by anyone else, and it makes us incredibly unique in how we bring together your overall cloud journey and your need and desire to operate with real-time data. The second thing is we built this platform really clearly aimed at developers. We've made it incredibly accessible for developers to work in this platform. We've built an API layer that allows you to extend Datastax Astra DB to any language. We allow you to use the languages and the tools and all the systems that you want to operate in. And we've made it incredibly efficient for a much wider range of developers to have the access to Cassandra and work in real-time data. It's a complete data stack. We've actually brought together our database with our streaming technology, with our API layer, and made this a complete data layer that can support your overall strategy for whatever you need. As I mentioned, it's really built for the cloud, delivered to the cloud. We run it as a managed service. We handle all the operations. We handle the SLA, thereby removing all of those challenges that we had around operational complexity, around developer complexity, around cost, and really giving you that power of a real-time data platform in the form of a cloud service without the challenges that we just talked about. The good news is that we have some great results. We've been doing this for 12 years. So we actually have some great examples of how this technology that we brought to market has generated real results. There's great results for us at just a technical level. We can actually run real-time data at 6 times the performance at 50% the cost of other cloud offerings. But at the same time, there's great examples of how this has generated direct impact specifically at a business level. We have customers that are using real-time data to accelerate their time to market for new services, bringing out new offerings for their customers in just 1/3 of the time that it took them to do before this. At the same time, they're generating revenue from these services immediately, and they're seeing a great business return from all of that. And There's no surprise that this is a popular technology or that it's actually generating these results, because Cassandra is actually used by over 90% of the Fortune 500. It's in most of the companies that we work with every day. It just isn't widely used. And so the combination of what we're doing with Cassandra at the foundation, an open technology that's widely proven, built into this new concept called the Real-Time Data Cloud, making it accessible and cost-effective while maintaining all of the performance that you expect from that solution. That's really what we're offering as part of this new solution. So I just want to wrap up here. I'm actually out of time. It was a fast 15 minutes. But I want to invite you back to the Datastax booth as well. We actually have a great offering. If you'll offer up some time and go a little bit deeper, we'd love to talk to you about your data strategy. And we actually have an offer to, we're raffling away a lease on a Tesla, which is part of our core offering here. And so we would love to spend a little time with you, learn a little bit about your business, hopefully give you some directions on where you can go forward, and also include you into our great raffle for this Tesla lease. So join us back at our booth at booth 3828. Great, thank you very much.